Tuesday Night Touchdown Podcast with your hosts, Reese Downing and Jacob Workman.
What's going on, guys? It is TNT Tuesday Night Touchdown Podcast, NFL edition, Week 2 picks. With me, as always, is the fine citizen, Mr. Jacob Workman. Jake, how's it going, brother?
Everything's good.
Yeah, a little bit of a rough week. We'll talk about it here in a little bit. Solid Week 1 start to the season. We're going to hop right into it here. We'll start off with Week 1 results. I finished 8-8. I did hit my lock, missed my dog. Jake finished 5-11, missed his lock and dog this week, but it's just Week 1. We got plenty of time to bounce back here. Let's hop right into the first game of the season. The Philadelphia Eagles beat the Dallas Cowboys 24-20 on Thursday Night Football in Lincoln Financial. Jalen Hurts had a pretty good game. He went 19-23 for 152. He added 62 yards and 2 scores on the ground. Did not have any scores in the air. Dak Prescott finished 21-34 for 188. Also no scores through the air. Couple headlines coming out of this game. First and foremost, before the game really got started, we had a little back and forth between Dak and Jalen Carter. Dak, it showed a little bit later in the game, kind of spit on the ground. Jalen was well far away from him, kind of smiled, baited Jalen 100%. Jalen responded by doing something completely idiotic and spit on Dak. It came out a couple hours ago that Jalen Carter has been fined $57,222, but because he was thrown out of the game in the beginning of the game, they're considering that his 1-game suspension. So there will be no other penalties for Jalen Carter for that. That's a little sketchy to me. Spitting in somebody's face is a little gross, or not a little gross, a lot gross, but that's all he's getting is just a $57,000 fine. Eagles overall really didn't look overly impressive in the game where they were favored by more than a touchdown. They came into this favored by 8.5. Saquon was held to 60 yards on 18 carries. A.J. Brown only had 1 catch for 8 yards. He didn't see anything in the first half. Devontae Smith had 3 catches for 16. On the flip side, Dallas, by all accounts, was in this game to the end. If not for 4 drops from CeeDee Lamb that had a major impact on the game, Dallas, I think, likely would have walked away from this game with a victory. Jake, what were your thoughts on this game? Is Dallas starting off a little better than expected, or do you think Philly's just not where they need to be?
I mean, honestly, I don't take much stock of what happens in Week 1 with these teams really not playing anyone in the preseason. These are almost they're meaningful preseason games, honestly. Like it's very hard to get a read on what is going to happen. I mean, first game of the year, it's kind of what you expect. It wasn't the greatest gameplay, an idiotic decision from Carter to start the game pretty much. I don't agree with that. I think he should be suspended also. Like, I don't believe that should count as the suspension. I think that's ridiculous. Overall though, I mean, it was competitive at least. I will say that. We got a good game to open the season.
Yeah, for sure. I'm optimistic, cautiously optimistic about what Dallas looked like. Again, like you said, Week 1, so there's still a lot of games to be played, but I like the system that Schottenheimer's put in place. Dak looked relatively good. CD's got to control those drops, but overall, I think Dallas played a pretty solid game, all things considered, especially with us, shipping Micah off, just less than 2 weeks before the season started. So they got a matchup in Jerry World this week against the Giants. We'll see how they do. Philly is going to be on the road playing the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl rematch. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. After the Thursday night game, we had a Friday night game where the LA Chargers beat Kansas City Chiefs 27-21 in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Justin Herbert was the highlight for the Chargers. He went 25-34 for 318 yards and 3 scores. Patrick Mahomes was the major player on the offensive side for the Chiefs. He finished 24-39 for 258 and a score through the air. He also had 6 carries for 57 yards and a score on the ground. One of the biggest storylines here is the loss of Xavier Worthy after colliding with Travis Kelce on a mesh concept on 3rd down. We'll take a look at that here in a little bit, but LA has to feel better about getting the monkey off their back. KC's won every game since September of 2021. So, it had been a little bit better for the Chargers, I think, to get a win in KC, but it's a win is a win. So starting with a victory over the Kansas City Chiefs has got to be solid for Harbaugh and company. Jake, with Rashee Rice serving the 6-game suspension, Xavier Worthy is currently listed as day-to-day, which is a little surprising to me because that was a rough hit. You think the Chiefs are going to be in the market for a receiver? Do you think they just kind of hold strong? What are your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, the outlook kind of changed for Worthy. It seemed like he was going to be out for a while, and then they're like, "Oh, you might play." What? I actually text Ike during the game because I know that he's obviously a big Chiefs fan. For anyone that has seen him on the show, and I said to him, I said, "Do you think this opens the door for Tyreek to go back to Kansas City because?" The Dolphins situation is a mess. He doesn't want to be there. I think they're going to have to get rid of him. And with the Chiefs needing a receiver, I think if there's one team that might risk bringing him in to deal with this bullshit, it's someone that's done it before, and they're in need. And I think he would like to go back to being a Super Bowl competitor too. He said that makes the most sense. Obviously, it's wait and see at this point, but it wouldn't surprise me to see Tyreek back in in Arrowhead.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. And that actually tees up quite well the next game we were going to talk about here, which is the Colts fans have to be happy. They got a 33-8 victory at home over the visiting Miami Dolphins. Danny Dimes had himself a game as his first official start as a Colt. He went 22-29 for 272 and a score. Great win for the Colts as they honored Jim Irsay after his passing during the offseason. Danny Dimes, you think he's going to be the season-long answer for Indy, or do you think that's a little bit of an overreaction after just one game?
No, I think that was I think we talked about this a few weeks ago, but like I like Indiana Jones / Danny Dimes, whatever we're calling him now, but I think obviously I didn't think Anthony Richardson was very good, so it didn't take much, but I like Daniel. I think he can do good things in Indy. I think him with Steichen's a good combination with the weapons that they have. Tyler Warren already looks ridiculous. I don't know. I actually, like I said, when I did my preseason picks, I actually like this Colts team a little bit. So I don't know. Again, it's week one. It's hard to say, but it's tough to they beat the shit out of Miami. It was a beatdown.
Yeah, it could be a combination of things, right? It could be a combination of how poor the Miami locker room and just the situation in Miami is. But at the same time, they had all cylinders are running. The Jonathan Taylor was on the Pat McAfee show earlier today, and he was talking about how they really didn't realize that they looked up at the scoreboard and they were like, "Shit, we haven't punted yet," and they were late into the game. Again, early in the season here, so we don't want to have too much of an overreaction, but the Colts did look good. I had them in the under win total as one of my favorite 10 bets to kick off the season. If they keep playing like this, Jonathan Taylor, Pittman, Tyler Warren, those guys can stay healthy. The Colts may surprise some folks, so we'll see what happens.
They even had Leatu Latu had a nice little drop back interception. Looked like me in Madden and college football up there.
It's like throwing controllers when I realized I was just watching the game. Finally here, unfortunately, the Detroit Lions walked into Lambeau and lost 27-13 to the Packers in a game where Green Bay was pretty much in control throughout. Detroit seemed to struggle a little bit to find a pass rush. The offensive line didn't quite look the same without Zeitler and Ragnow. Terry and Arnold had a rough game. Offense seemingly stalled and had to settle for field goals a few times. The run defense seemed to be the highlight for your Lions, Jake. What were your thoughts on the game, and what does Detroit need to do to right the ship at home this week against Chicago?
Thankfully, they don't need much motivation with Benedict coming to town, so I don't really – I think we'll be fine this week. Yeah, it's it's a road trip to Lambeau to start the year, so obviously it's going to toughen itself. Little changes. I didn't really think we had any issues coordinator-wise. I think everything was fine there. I just the offensive line, again, I think it's the lack of preseason is our offensive line didn't play together at all. And they were not the best. Goff not playing in the preseason he's under a little bit different pressure this year than what he's going to be in the past. So he's going to have to get used to that. Again, I think the ship is easily rideable. I'm not concerned whatsoever. And like I said, returning home, we'll finally, it's our first home game since the tragic loss to Washington. The fans, as if we needed any more motivation, are going to boo the absolute Christ out of that idiot. So I think it's going to be a fun one Sunday. I think it'll be just what we need to get right back on track.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, Chicago did not look good in that game last night. Minnesota didn't look great either, but if you take away that first drive from Chicago and then the pick six, Chicago scored 10 points at home against a division opponent with their golden boy at head coach, their golden boy at quarterback, and they had 4 or 5 false starts at home. And now you're going to go into a dome to play another division rival in Detroit. You know that crowd's going to be rowdy. I mean, it's one game, again, not overreactions here, but Caleb Williams has not looked fantastic since he's stepped into the NFL. And I know Ben's been there to get things done. I do know that Ben is supposedly a much more hard-nosed coach, you know, like I can't remember if it was, I was listening to Good Morning Football this morning, or maybe in the Pat McAfee show, but they were talking about how Caleb has always been the perennial quarterback in every team that he's been on, from high school all the way into the pros. So he's had a lot of ass kissing from head coaches, and he's had a really long leash. And Ben Johnson is not that type of coach. And I don't think he's going to come out and say, well, there's a lot of different things that we could be doing. Like, I think it's a strong possibility, you know, when he gets asked, Caleb's going to have to tighten up his game a little bit. So, you know, obviously Chicago, is just 1 week into the season, but they did not look good. And especially for that being a home game with those false starts, that was just an embarrassing start to the season.
There's a couple of things I want to get into with that. One is, that penalty wise, I think they finished with like 12 penalties for like 140 yards or something crazy like that.
You're not winning games like that.
But the other thing with that too is in people are going to need to realize, I've said this ever since this podcast has started, the Bears have no running game. Ben Johnson's coming from David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs with an offensive attack. They still can't run the ball. So that's where the difference is going to come in. And that, I don't fault Caleb for that. And Caleb's taken some of the brunt of it for that. And like I said, I actually like a lot of the Bears players. I don't like Ben Johnson anymore, but I like a lot of the Bears players, but I've always said DeAndre Swift is not good and their running game is not good. And until they have that, then I think it's going to be tough for that offense to do anything. Yeah. But the other side of what you just mentioned with, I'm going to talk about Ben Johnson. Now, I don't really necessarily fault him for this because he said he told the kicker. I want to go over this kicking thing because I've had some issues. The Lions really pissed me off with this. So Ben Johnson told their kicker to kick the ball out of the end zone for a touchback. So with him kicking it into the end zone last night, Minnesota decided to just run it out because that was going to take it under the 2-minute warning so that they didn't have to use, or so that they wouldn't have a timeout left, basically ending the game. So when they kicked it, Ben Johnson said he did tell, I think it's Cairo Santos, he did tell him to kick it out of the end zone. So we'll put that on the kicker, whatever. But the other thing that needs to be taught, and one of the main changes I'm seeing here, special teams need to teach these guys almost like punts. If the punt is going to land in the end zone, you're not going to catch it. They need to get to that point with these guys on kick returns. You do not want to return a kick return that's landing in the end zone. And you're going to have to determine, because the point that the kickers are trying to get to right now is to land it right in between the 5 and the 1 right now, because you don't want to kick it. The touchback rule, there's a big difference if it's the 20-yard line or if it's the 35-yard line. That's a huge advantage. Yeah. And the Lions are catching them like 1 and 2 yards in the end zone and running them out. I'm like, no, if the fucking ball goes in the end zone, you do not return that. And you watch a lot of like the games over the weekend, a lot of teams are not doing that. And I think that that's something that's going to drastically change. They've got to know where they're at on the field on the returns. And then the other thing, I forget what team it was, but one team had a really good strategy I like, because if you kick the ball and it lands in the landing zone and then goes into the end zone for a touchback, you only get it at the 20. So a lot of teams are now hitting almost like a hard squib that as long as it lands in the landing zone, it'll just continue to roll out of bounds. And that's saving them 15 yards right off the jump right there. So, I mean, the kicking rules, obviously with the changes, there's going to be a lot of strategy changes, but that's one thing that I think really needs emphasized. If I see one more fucking Lions player return a kick from the end zone, I might kill someone. It's ridiculous.
Well, the hard squib is a double whammy, right? Because it's either going to roll back to the back of the end zone, so long as it doesn't, go too far into the lane or too forward into the landing zone. But the second part of that is that those squibs are not always easy to field. So you have an opportunity for one of those guys to fumble that ball, and then they're just going to cover it, and then they're going to be behind even the 20, right? So, or even a possibility to cover the kick, depending on how well the kick return team is blocking. So there's definitely some adjustments that need to be made based on the changes.
And with the hard squib, the one little risk that comes with it, just to talk about it, is if they do hit it short and it doesn't go, then they do get the ball at the 40. So
yeah, that's a 5-yard difference versus.
Well, right, but yeah. I know, but from what they're trying to do, that's a 20-yard difference.
Yeah, well, no, but that's the point that I'm trying to make. Is like, you're risking a 5-yard difference between the 35 and the 40 versus the 20 to the 35. I think the risk is worth it there. So,
yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, well, let's run through some quick news here. Not too much to cover. We're going to start off with the 49ers because they've got a lot going on. George Kittle has hit the IR with a hamstring injury. He's going to be sidelined for at least the next 4 weeks. They had estimated 3 to 5 weeks before they just announced that he is going to go on IR. Brock Purdy is dealing with both toe and shoulder injuries. His status is a little bit in doubt for this week's game. If he doesn't start, that means that Mac Jones would end up being the starter for the Niners going to the week 2 tilt against the Saints. They have signed Kendrick Bourne off of free agency. They also cut Robbie Chosen. The name cracks me up. They also got rid of kicker Jake Moody after a couple of missed kicks. They have signed Eddie Pinheiro off of free agency. So the Niners have been busy since Sunday. Jacksonville Jaguars have traded running back Tank Bigsby to the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for 5th and 6th round picks in 2026. That was a little bit surprising from Jacksonville's side. ETN had a really solid game, and I know that they've got I can't remember their other current backup, but a little surprising to me that they would give up Bigsby for a 5th and a 6th round. Pittsburgh Steelers are signing expats defensive back Jabril Peppers after Deshaun Elliott suffered an injury in the week 1 win against the Jets. Chiefs wide receiver Xavier Worthy, we talked about him. He's actually listed day-to-day with the shoulder injury after his collision with Travis Kelce in Friday night's loss to the Chargers in Sao Paulo. And finally, head coach for the Giants, Brian Daboll, says Russell Wilson will remain the starting quarterback heading into the week 2 tilt against the Dallas Cowboys at Jerry World. Before we head into our picks of the week, we are going to start trying to cover some plays of the week. We're doing that on the college episode, so we're rolling it into the NFL show as well. We're going to start off with just an absolutely ridiculous catch here from DeAndre Hopkins.
He is having an opening night. Lamar laying it up for Hopkins. What? The veteran still got it. DeAndre Hopkins touchdown. Oh, wow.
I'll say this. I have had a handshake with that hand right there. It is no surprise that ball stuck. And if DeAndre Hopkins can do anything for this football team, that's it. Those contested throws, those balls on the sideline, in the end zone, he could end up being the difference.
Chris Collinsworth always with the fine commentary.
Yeah, I'm actually a little mad. I heard his voice and then it hit me that I was supposed to get something from the game Thursday night. So that'll be a new feature next week that I'll be debuting with he's rocked up when talking about Dak Prescott.
I forgot about that. I know you texted me during the game.
What a mention that was.
Yeah, no kidding. Collinsworth always dropping bombs. Next up here, we talked about this a couple times already, but let's take a look at that play from Xavier Worthy and Travis Kelce where the collision occurred.
Chiefs is a 3rd and 6 from their own 28. Mahomes surveying over the middle, incomplete as Worthy fell down on the play and he's not getting up. He is down and they are calling out for assistance as he hops up. So getting off on his own power.
Running a little mesh route. It's actually some friendly fire right here. He's supposed to go underneath Travis Kelce. Kelce gets jammed a little bit right in.
Yeah, Travis Kelce is a beefy man. It looked like he barely moved. The other thing that I'll say is that I didn't understand a damn word he said, but the commentary coming out of Sao Paulo sounds so much better than listening to guys like Collinsworth. Let's just listen to those guys during some of these games. But yeah, he's Xavier Worthy is day to day, which is a little surprising because when that happened, it sounded like he might be out for a while with a shoulder separation at least.
That was a rough hit. That was painful.
Yeah, he popped up pretty quick, but I was like, he's gonna fall right back down. That was rough. So hopefully Xavier Worthy is back because the Chiefs are a little thin at wide receiver right now. Next up, we've got this guy won angry runs this morning. Kyle Brandt about fell off the roof talking about it. Yeah, let's roll the clip. This is brutal.
29. Wilson, quick throw far side and gets Scannable involved in the pass game. He's knocking people over. Scannable inside.
I love that, man. Those first two hits, you heard those pads pop.
And Scatterboot did that almost every week at Arizona State.
I know. That reminds me of the old Brian Rector hit on Sam Pruitt when we were in middle school. We saw nuts and bolts flying off of Pruitt's shoulder pads. All right, and then the last one here is a Jake Workman special. We've got a little bit of a speech to play here from a Mr. Shad Khan after a big win in Jacksonville.
Yeah, tell me that this guy's son doesn't own a wrestling promotion.
This is what we envisioned in January, okay?
Yes, sir.
It's happening here in September. Gonna go on forever!
Duval. Forever. Yeah, that guy has one incredible mustache. I also look at Trevor Lawrence in the background.
This is what we envisioned in January, okay?
Yes, sir.
It's happening here in September. Gonna go on forever!
He's like, I'm so used to this shit. It like doesn't even phase him anymore.
Yeah, if you deal with Dabo your whole life and you got to see, I mean, that's nothing.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Dabo shoots Bibles out of his ass.
Good Lord. On that note, let's hop into week 2 picks here. We're going to kick things off. The 1-0 Washington Commanders are traveling to play the 1-0 Green Bay Packers Thursday at 8:20 p.m. at Lambeau Field on Amazon Prime. Over under is 48.5. Green Bay is favored by 3.5.
Yeah, short week. You typically like the team at home. Both of them coming off pretty big wins. I'm actually going to go a little surprise here. Let's start the week off with an upset. Give me the Commanders plus 3.5.
Yeah, Green Bay has got a few guys that are banged up after the Detroit game. Commanders have a pretty strong offensive line. Jaden Daniels is one of the best dual threats in the league. Green Bay, I would think, would have a little bit better of a game again in the run. But this game is a bit of a toss-up to me, too. I am also going to take the Commanders here in the points. Next up, we have the 0-1 Cleveland Browns at the 0-1 Baltimore Ravens. There it is. Sunday at 1 p.m. at M&T Bank Stadium on CBS. Over under is 45.5. Baltimore is favored by 11.5.
Yeah. The Browns Bengals game last week was all over the place. I thought the Browns were actually going to win the damn game for a while. Baltimore, I don't see them going 0-2. I think they're going to return home. Obviously, it was a tough game Sunday night. That's a tough way to lose, but I think they'll get back on it and beat the Browns. I think they'll cover.
Yeah, Ravens blew a fourth quarter lead against the Bills. I don't think that's going to happen here. I'm going to take Baltimore to win and cover here pretty easily. Next up, we have the 1-0 Los Angeles Rams at the 0-1 Tennessee Titans Sunday at 1 p.m. at Nissan Stadium on CBS. Over under is 42.5. The Rams come in favored by 5.5.
Yeah, Stafford. I don't know if so I'm a little upset that didn't make your news segment, but 60,000 passing yards last week. He's now top 10 all time, and I do believe that he has some within reach still. Also, there was some other record. I don't remember exactly what it was, but something about starting games. I'll get it for next week. We'll add to it. But I am interested in this because the Rams going on the road. It's an interesting spot because I watched Tennessee Denver, and I actually didn't mind what Tennessee did. I know Cam Ward's numbers weren't like all that impressive, but team wise, they played really well. This is a tricky one for me, but I'm going to take the Rams to cover. Oh man, and a West Coast team playing at 1 o'clock too. God, this is like all of the signs you usually don't bet for, but I'm going to go Rams minus 5.5.
So not putting big money on this game. Cam Ward is having a bit of a rough start to his career going up against really strong defenses. He's going to have to be in the move on this game too, going up against this Rams defensive front. I am going to take LA to win and cover. Next up, we have the 0-1 Chicago Bears at the 0-1 Detroit Lions Sunday at 1 p.m. at Ford Field on Fox. Over under is 47.5. Detroit comes in favored by 5.5.
Yeah, MCDC basically guaranteed a victory. Said we have to have it. Like I mentioned earlier, Amon-Ra St. Brown said as soon as Benedict enters the stadium, he better hear everyone booing, and he said even the team will be booing. So I think this is going to be a very, very fun crowd. I mean, the week 1 game, first home game is always awesome. And to add to it with this, and plus we basically need to win. We don't want to start 0-2 in the division. So I think we're setting up for a good one here. I'm going to take the Lions.
Yep, I am on the Lions as well. Next up, we have the 1-0 Buffalo Bills at the 0-1 New York Jets. 1 p.m. Sunday at MetLife Stadium on CBS. Over/under is 45.5. Buffalo comes in favored by 7.
Yeah, Jets have to be a little sick last week. It looked like they were going to beat the Steelers. They actually played pretty well offensively. They got our guy who was our Lions offensive. He was the quarterback coach, and took him over. He's running the offense there now, so you see a little similarities from what we used to have. I think that's perfect for Justin Fields. I think this game is going to be actually a really good 7 is a lot to me, especially for a road game, but it's hard to doubt Buffalo also. Buffalo's offense has had usual very good success against Aaron Glenn in the past too. So I will take Buffalo.
Yeah, the Bills are going to need to be careful here from a hangover game after that comeback win against the Ravens. I think Buffalo's going to get the win, but I don't like the 7, so I'm going to take the Jets here to cover. Next up, we have the 0-1 New York Giants at the 0-1 Dallas Cowboys. 1 p.m. Sunday at AT&T Stadium on Fox. Over/under is 44.5. Dallas comes in favored by 5.5 at home.
Yeah, the quarterback questions with the Giants kind of get on my nerves. Like he kind of doubted in the post game Russell Wilson being the starter, like he wasn't going to commit to anything, and then he said he was. So the questions are there, and I don't know how much they'll let him play. I think they want to see Jackson Dart. So because of that, I'm going to take Dallas at home to cover. I actually don't mind this Giants team. I love their defense, honestly, and I think they're going to give Dak hell. That's why I think this might be a good game, but until they know what they're doing on offense, I like the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think Dallas looked pretty good, all things considered, against the Eagles last week. It's like I said earlier, I'm a little cautiously optimistic that Schott's system is an improvement over the McCarthy era. Giants also didn't look great last week. They are staying with Russ. I think this makes it a little easier for me, so I am also going to roll with the Cowboys here, -5.5. Next up, we have the San Francisco 49ers at 1-0, visiting the 0-1 New Orleans Saints, Sunday at 1 p.m. at Caesars Superdome on Fox. Over/under is 42.5. San Fran comes in favored by 4.5. This has dropped a point since yesterday.
Yeah, Kittle's injury, I'm sure, was probably that. So they're going to be without Kittle. The Niners just have injuries, I feel like everywhere, at all times. But the Saints are not good. Like I said, I barely had them winning a couple games this year, so 4.5 seems a little low for me. So I'm going to take the Niners.
Yeah, multiple question marks on San Fran's offensive side of the ball, but the defense looked good in Saleh's first game as DC. I expect Rattler to be rattled, so I am also going to take San Fran here on the road. Next up, we have the 0-1 New England Patriots at the 0-1 Miami Dolphins, 1 p.m. at Hard Rock Stadium on CBS, over/under 43.5. Miami comes in favored by 1.5.
Yeah, I've said this when we did our preview. I barely had Miami winning any games, and I think they showed last week why. This team's just in complete disarray. I can't believe that they're a favorite in any game this year. I don't think they should be favored against anyone, not even the Jets. So I'm going to take New England plus the 1.5.
I am with you. Both teams disappointed a little bit last week, but I think the locker room's in a much better situation in Foxborough than it is in South Beach. So I am going to take the Pats here to get the outright W. Next up, we have the 1-0 Jacksonville Jaguars at the 1-0 Cincinnati Bengals, 1 p.m. Sunday at Paycor Stadium on CBS. Over/under is 49.5. Cincy comes in favored by 3.5.
Yeah, I like Jacksonville this year. And the Browns really gave Cincinnati hell. I'm telling you, that defense sucks. I'm going to take Jacksonville plus 3.5. I think they can keep this close, if not win.
Yeah, they didn't look bad. Jags didn't look bad in the first week under Liam Cohen, especially ETN. They obviously have a lot of confidence in him after trading Bigsby to the Eagles this week. The Bengals don't have a strong defense, but I do think their offense will be a little bit more firepowered this week at home. So I'm going to take Cincy here minus the points. Next up, we have the 0-1 Seattle Seahawks at the 1-0 Pittsburgh Steelers, Sunday at 1 p.m. at Acrisure Stadium on Fox. Over under in this one is 39.5. Pittsburgh comes in favored by 2.5.
39 is ridiculous. Jesus.
Low.
Yeah, I like the Aaron Rodgers debut in Pittsburgh, and I really like I think the Steelers are going to keep getting better week by week. This team seems very good to me, and I like the pieces that they have in place. So I'm going to take Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Pittsburgh should be a little bit more relaxed at home, and A-Rod's first game as a Steeler in front of a home crowd. The Seahawks also didn't do a great job of protecting Darnold, which is a little concerning going against this defense. So I'm also going to take Pittsburgh at home. Next up, we have the 1-0 Denver Broncos at the 1-0 Indianapolis Colts, Sunday at 4:05 p.m. at Lucas Oil Stadium on CBS. Over under is 42.5. Denver comes in favored by 2.5.
This is our Colts. This is our team. Give me the Colts at the Battle of the Glue Factories. I like Indy. I don't know. I do like Denver's defense. But like I said, it was a closer game with Tennessee last week than people realize. I actually like Tennessee a lot in that game. So I think the Colts can keep it going at home. I'm going to take the Colts. I'm taking Colts straight up.
Yeah, Bo Nix did not look good last week. I think he came in a little overly confident. You saw that in his throws. But that defense just has the ability to keep him in these types of games.
Let's ride, you fucking the Broncos. Pardon my French.
I was waiting for the Bo Nix sucks at the end of that. I think Indy is going to come in high after the win against Miami at home, but I think Danny Dimes might have a little bit of a reality check going up against this defense here. So I am going to take Denver here to win and cover.
Get out of here. Denver is trash.
I love it. Next up, we have the 0-1 Carolina Panthers at the 1-0 Arizona Cardinals, Sunday at 4:05 p.m. at State Farm Stadium on CBS. Over under is 43.5. Arizona comes in favored by 6.5.
Jesus. Yeah, I watched Arizona in New Orleans last week, and my God, what a disaster. I'm not big on the Cardinals. 6.5 is amazing. I don't understand how they can be that big of a favorite against anyone. I'm taking Carolina.
Yeah, I'm actually with you here. I think 6.5 is a little salty, so I am also going to take Carolina and the points here to keep it close enough. Next up, we have the 1-0 Philadelphia Eagles at the 0-1 Kansas City Chiefs, Sunday at 4:25 p.m. at Geha Field at Arrowhead. 46.5 is the over-under. Philly comes in favored by 1.5.
Yeah, I just can't see the Chiefs being 0-2, to be honest. I know that the receivers are going to be a question, but I think they'll find a way to get it done. I just can't see them being 0-2. So for that reason, I'm going Chiefs.
Yeah, I went back and forth on this one. The Eagles didn't look overly impressive against the Cowboys last week, but I just don't see the Chiefs starting 0-2. I guess it could possibly happen, but I'm going to take the Chiefs in the 1.5 here. Next up, we have the 0-1 Atlanta Falcons at the 1-0 is what that should say, Minnesota Vikings, Sunday at 8:15 p.m. at US Bank Stadium on NBC. Over under is 45.5. Minnesota comes in favored by 4.5.
Penix is going to come in with his boy back home, Kirk Cousins. I'm going to take the Falcons plus 4.5. Obviously, we saw a lot of interesting questions with both the Vikings and Bears last night, and I like Atlanta. They honestly should have had that game. They blew it against Tampa, so I like Atlanta to get a win here.
Yeah, I think Atlanta fell victim to a late surge from Baker, and I think Minnesota also got some help against a middling Chicago team. I wasn't overly impressed with the Vikings either. I actually like the Falcons in this one, so I'm going to take Atlanta here plus the points. All right, we've got two Monday night football games this week. The first one is the 1-0 Tampa Bay Buccaneers visiting the 0-1 Houston Texans, Monday at 7 p.m. at NRG Stadium on ABC and ESPN. Over under is 42.5. Houston comes in favored by 2.5.
Give me Houston at home. I liked what they did against the Rams last week. They played well. And like I said, Tampa, I think, got a lucky break last week in beating Atlanta. I don't think they should have won that game. It's back-to-back road games for Tampa, too. So I'm going to be on the Texans.
Yeah, I went a little back and forth on this one. I've been high on Tampa since the preseason. I know they're still dealing with a couple injuries. They did need a late touchdown to get the W in Atlanta, but I do think they also have a better matchup this week against a Texas team that just seems a little bit weak up front. They didn't find the end zone in week 1. The rushing attack is one of the big things for the Texans, and they're missing their main guy in Joe Mixon, so they've been leaning on Chubb. I'm going to go ahead and take Tampa here plus the 2.5. And then our last Monday Night Football game is the 1-0 Los Angeles Chargers at the 1-0 Las Vegas Raiders, Monday at 10 p.m. at Allegiant Stadium on ESPN. Over under is 46.5. Chargers come in favored by 3.
Yeah, I like the coaches in this game. A good coach battle with Harbaugh and Carroll. I like them both. It's going to be interesting. I think the Chargers shocked a lot of people in that game with the Chiefs. I don't think anyone was expecting that, really. The Raiders went to New England and played very well too. So really good game. Unfortunately, it's going to be late as hell. But I'm going to take the home team in the points. I'll take the Raiders.
Yeah, this is the third round of the Harbaugh-Carroll saga because they played against each other in the Pac-12. They play against each other in the NFC West. Now they're here in the AFC. I think this is going to be a really good game if the Raiders offense looks like anything like they did last week. I am just a little bit more on the Chargers right now with the line being at 3. I think this could possibly be a push, but I am going to take Harbaugh and the Chargers here. All right, that is it for our games. We are going to jump into our locks of the week. Jake, what is your lock?
My lock of the week is the Lions returning home minus 5.5 against the Bears. Fuck you, Benedict Johnson.
I'm rolling with my boys here. I got the Dallas Cowboys minus 5.5 against the New York Giants. All right, let's hear it. Jake, who's your dog?
Give me the Commanders going on the road to Lambeau Thursday night on Amazon at plus 150.
There's some nice juice in that game, plus 150. I like it. I am going to roll with the game we just talked about, Tampa Bay Buccaneers sitting at plus 126, traveling to Houston to get the outright win. All right, guys, that is it for our week 2 picks. We just did our college show, so please check that out. Like, share, subscribe. As always, we appreciate you guys tuning in. We will see y'all in week 3. Cheers.
Get out of here. Denver is trash.
Goodbye, everyone.